Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. Yes, it is. Time is flying when you're having fun. And believe it or not, it's hot out there, but not scorching. Nice, beautiful breeze along the river and the beaches. So you can be pretty damn blessed if you live in the South Florida area, especially near the coastline. Plus, I'm at CJ's Java Lounge, located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue, Suite 1. It's at the Yacht Club along the New River of Fort Lauderdale, southwest section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Passion supersedes logic. I know, and many other people still harping about Charlottesville, and don't get me wrong. Like I said before, it is a horrific event. Good folks have got seriously injured, regardless what their views are. Many others now trying to take sides, flip-flop, take this side or the other. One's a good guy, one's a bad guy. One of the others saying that I won't support Nazis' free speech. That is the road to tyranny, my fellow brothers and sisters that are listening right now. Even in my past episode, I let everyone know I don't condone Nazism or any forms of tyranny. I've been very consistent at it. I can be critical on all ends. But I do see a psyops in the works. They want us fighting so we can be ruled like peasants, pissants, peons, slaves, etc. I can go on synonymously. Even the vice mayor of Charlottesville is saying that president's unfit, this and that. No, your government, my friend, has been despotic based on your actions. Not afraid to say it again. I do see the psyops once again. I'm not the only one that observed this. Hired fools from all walks of life, infiltrators, provocateurs, plants, possibly on the CIA's, Homeland Security, or FBI's, or any federal payroll. When you folks going to start learning about this? Saw a good video from a gentleman. He's going to have a Twitter page called Periscope. I don't know if it came out yet, but he did talk about the coup. And this will happen at Charlottesville occurred in Ukraine. I've talked about this happened during the Weimar Republic of Germany. Some of these so-called infantry will be collaborating with one another over the one person, and later one of them is going to get kicked to the curb. Study your history, friends. It's happening right in front of our eyes. This is why I step back a few things. Try to use logic, and people give me attitudes or send me something. Probably never seen it yet. And these people I do love, don't get me wrong. You got to think before you speak. Examine before jumping to conclusions. It's very disappointing when I see people I care about get caught in this hoopla. Time and time again, you want to say, yes, entrap me, entrapment man, entrapment woman. I want to get caught in the matrix. I want the taste of the Jim Jones syndrome. Once again, you let it affect you thoroughly. That is very unhealthy. How many times do you want to get duped, swindled, or screwed over? What are you going to do about it? Complain, whine, scream, put your 2 cents in on your social media sites? Take sides instead of looking through the bigger picture? caught in their tyrannical bear trap. So, no, I'm digressing. Forgive me, my friends. I have to let that out. If I do give a damn about everyone's out there. So, I was going to be talking on a few topics. And may play a song as well. I guess something possible dry throat. I did one yesterday on Neocons Democrats Unite as war on Russia intensifies. I recommend folks go to newsbuzz.com, subscribe, and throw some great intellectual ammunition out there. One of the fantastic sites, great reporters. Sybil Edmonds is amazing. Kurt Nemo, I can go on. John Whitehead, from the Rutherford Institute, are seeing right through the scenario, the deception, the mind control, manipulation, used car sales crap. So, this is interesting. This came out today around 5:21 a.m. off the Florida Bulldog. And I haven't really done much on a state level, Florida level. Once in the blue moon. I think this is one here is pretty essential. This is about a a convicted sex abuser who had to get registered. It was registered as a sex offender. 40-year-old Derek Logue. And he's protesting to the Florida legislature stop lines, start repealing sex offender registration laws. Some people may find him controversial, but he does have the right to speak his mind, like it or not. I'm not praising on his actions or anything that violates spaces, especially among children, molested, rapists, all that. Sometimes when you look at things, they try to really water it down, and they get a little bit touchy. But I'm not defending this individual's actions. I'll just let you know right now, so don't even assume I'm taking his side based on his registered sex offender. However, came out from Florida Bulldog. It says here, State Senator Lauren Book seeks restraining order to silence protester. By Francisco Alvaro. As it reads here, as Broward State Senator Lauren Book prepares for an annual walk to raise awareness about child sex abuse, she wants to make sure one of her harshest critics is nowhere near her. On July 26, Senator Book filed a petition in a Broward Circuit Court seeking a restraining order against Derek Logue, a 40-year-old Ohio man convicted of sexually assaulting a 11-year-old girl in 2001. Logue today is an advocate for registered sex offenders. Pretty gutsy, I would say, huh? You won't find Senator Book's petition at the county courthouse. A clerk in the Broward Court's Domestic Violence Division told a reporter it is confidential. The reason, Florida Statute 119 says that any documents that reveal the identity, address, or phone numbers of a potential crime victim are exempt from Florida's liberal public records law. So it may conflict with Article 1, Section 24 of the Florida Constitution on public records. Yeah, you can look it up. I said it so many times. Trust me, just read it. Florida Bulldog obtained a copy of a petition from Logue. Senator Book claims she fears for her and her family's safety following physical threats Logue allegedly made against her online and in person during two public events in 2015 and 2016. In addition to seeking to bar Logue from showing up at her annual walk events, she wants to keep him from coming within 500 feet of her home and her offices. But Broward County Court Judge Michael G. Kaplan rejected Senator Book's request for a temporary restraining order on August 9th. Nothing there was insufficient evidence showing she was in immediate danger. Hearing on a request for a permanent restraining order is scheduled for September 1st. I'm going to have to check that out. Sarah's book declined comment, but her father, prominent Tallahassee lobbyist Ron Brook, told Florida Bulldog he has been harassing him and his daughter for roughly 4 years. We had to ignore his harassment because we don't believe he is terribly relevant, Book said. He has little credibility. However, Book said the last straw occurred on July 8th when Logue tweeted, "I think I found the official Laura Ahern Lauren Book theme song," next to link to a video YouTube for a song titled "You Are a C" by Australian singer and comedian Kat McSnatch. Ahern is executive director of Parents for Megan's Law, a New York-based advocacy group for victims of sex crimes. Ugly lyrics. Among its provocative lyrics is the ugly line, "Why don't you shut that scabby C mouth before I F up your face?" The crude video also features an image of a tombstone that reads, "Rest in peace, annoying C." According to Ron Brook and Senator Book's petition, officials from several New York law enforcement agencies advised that Logue's tweet was a credible death threat. Why do they live in Florida and they try to go into New York? Law enforcement agencies. They're probably up there, I don't know, but still. I will continue on here. We were advised to contact law enforcement and take steps to make sure that the encounters we've had with Mr. Logue don't happen again. When you cross the line and threaten to F up someone's face followed by rest in peace, that's a credible threat, said Ron Book. Logue dismissed the Book's accusations as a load of hogwash. He claimed the petition is an attempt to stop him from exercising his First Amendment right to speak out against their lifelong campaign against sex offenders. It is easy to make look like the bad guy because I'm a registered citizen, Logue told Florida Bulldog. You may not like my choice of words. I do cuss and I do call people the C word. She is offended by it, but I don't care. It's protected free speech. He added, she is simply trying to prevent me from raining on her little parade. Senator Book is the founder and a $135,000 a year chief executive officer of Lauren's Kids, a nonprofit agency that has collected more than $10 million in grants from the Florida legislature to fund an array of educational programs to convince crime victims and children advocates to report child sex crimes. However, the effectiveness of the program have come under fire. Senator Book has used Lauren's Kids to elevate her public profile. The plantation Democrat who was sexually abused as a teen by her former nanny also makes an annual trek on foot from Key West, Tallahassee to raise awareness for child sex victims. This year's walk is scheduled to begin on September 9th. In her petition, Senator Book claims that the 2015 Logue traveled to Tallahassee, an organized group of sex offenders, in an attempt to disrupt the final mile of her annual walk. The workers were warned in advance, and they were able to keep the walk peaceful with the help of the Capitol Police, the Tallahassee Police Department, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the petition says. A year later, Logue traveled to New York City to attend a screening of the documentary Untouchable at Tribeca Film Festival to harass Senator Brook during the question and answer session. The petition alleges the books are prominently featured in the movie about the impact of sex offender laws on individuals convicted of sex crimes. During the question and answer segment, he became unruly enough that his microphone was cut off and the petitioner was surrounded by New York Police Department officers to protect her. The petition states Senator Book claims she's learned from Logue's July 8th tweet after being contacted by an advocate for Parents of Megan's Law who filed a report with the New York field office of the FBI. A rally planned for Miami. The petition also knows that Logue's website, oncefallen.com, and a Facebook page is affiliated with promoting a rally planned for Miami in September. The coincidence is palpable. In his response to the petition during an interview with Florida Bulldog, Logue says he has participated in helping organize demonstrations across the country against sex offenders registry laws and other legislation that he believes discriminate against sex offenders who have done their time. He has also been interviewed on the topic by CNN, HLN, and Russia Today, as well as local and regional news outlets, Logue said. He said the 2015 demonstration in Tallahassee was peaceful, even though Lawrence Kids officials were trying to report him for not registering with the state of Florida for the event. I'm free to travel anywhere in the United States of America, Logue response states. In fact, I made a point to contact the Leon County Sheriff's Office to confirm that I would not need to register as a sex offender to visit for less than 48 hours to engage in a peaceful demonstration. Logue said he attended the 2016 Tribeca Film Festival because he had been interviewed for Untouchable, but the footage did not make it into the documentary. He did make a brief appearance halfway through the film during scenes of the demonstration in Tallahassee. He said he only learned the books were also in attendance when he arrived for the screening. Logue said in the documentary, director David Faggs asked him not to be too nasty to the book family, and he obliged. He denies disrupting the question and answer session. I asked her why she preaches that sex offenders don't deserve second chances when her father is also a convicted criminal that got a second and third chance. Logue said. She made a snarky remark. I laughed and sat back down. Interesting. On July 21st, 1995, Rombo pleaded guilty of 4 misdemeanor charges, was fined $2,000 for a criminal investigation that he found he violated state law by funneling more than $30,000 in illegal campaign contributions to at least a dozen county and state politicians. So it's like embezzlement. Ooh. Logue, who isn't shy about owning up to a sex crime conviction, claimed when he went to register in his home state in July, his registration officer told him someone by claiming to a state senator called a complaint that he called her a C and that she was offended by it. I call a lot of people C, Logue said. I understand that everyone appreciates crude language, yet we elected a president that uses crude language and whatnot. Logue's lawyer, Jamie Benjamin, did not respond to a phone message seeking comment. Senator Book's lawyer, Fort Lauderdale's David Bolgenshow, said that her role as a public official makes her vulnerable target to threats of a violent nature. She and several law enforcement agencies believe Logue's behavior crosses the line between what's protected by the First Amendment and threats that causes individuals to have legitimate concerns for themselves and their families. Bolgenshow said, if continued, and has continued, we need the court's intervention to draw the line for us. Okay, so it's very interesting because that was a legitimate question, by the way, we said about her husband, right? Ron Book. From money funneling, embezzlement. Interesting case here on Mr. Logue, but he does have a valid point. Like him or not, he has taken responsibility for his actions. Because other people hide in the corner. They're like totally like in solitude. I'm not saying like I'm an associate with him personally. But he has an interesting case about sex offender registration laws. I'm expecting him to do challenges on that. Especially in Article 1, Section 2 and 23, right of privacy. Something to think about, my friends. But this is an interesting case about this whole restraining order. Of course, if you can use that C word, it's fun because I read a book on that. It's like Women of the World is called. That's the name of the book. But word C-U-T is Cuntina, some goddess. Let me just look that up, see if that exists or not. Well, here's an interesting note here. That's from Deafening. That's the name of the website on Cuntina. A woman who is nice, long-suffering, forgiving, always taken for granted, exploited, but due to being taken to the last straw and betrayed by the people she loved and by society, has turned into an angry, indifferent, selfish, bitter, arrogant, vain, Sometimes rude, aggressive, bossy, strong person better described as a C-U-N-T, and the feminine name being Cuntina. After all, you have to put me through. You made a Cuntina out of me. I remember reading about it, and that's interesting. So I want to add that to the footnotes. Okay, so all you women out there that have this mindset, being aggressive, bossy, yes, you're a Cuntina. Okay. I just gotta laugh because the whole thing is this. Some of these folks here don't know what it means. Like, so, hey, when you're nasty with people, yeah, you may earn that label. But I want to leave that up there for added to that whole article. But one thing for sure, my friend, Mr. Derek Logue is a constitutional challenge. And I'll say that out of respect. Because if you look at Florida Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, basic rights considered inalienable because he is a Florida resident. And the right of privacy, Article 1, Section 23. And like I said before, I've been brought up in my past episodes what that is about on government not encroaching on your personal life. But one thing for sure, that is challengeable. I want to add that as well, the Florida Constitution, so you could refocus, look that up once again, so we all be on the same page. Article 1, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. We all on the same page, and let's get a big kick out of it at times. Like I said before, I'm not condoning his actions, but this is a constitutional challenge. You gotta give it to him in that perspective. I know a lot of folks may not won't stand a person. But you have to always look at things in a bigger picture. He served his time and boldly admits it. Like says, Article 1, Section 23, every natural person has the right to be let alone and free from governmental intrusion into the person's private life except as otherwise provided herein. So, it is interesting. So you got to look at that as a constitutional challenge in the state of Florida. And you know what? It will be interesting. I would say that. And all you folks got to really start looking at, instead of using passion, think logically. How far can this go? And like I said before, I don't endorse abuse, violating anyone's space, especially the children. I condemn that with a passion. This man, Mr. Rowe, probably repenting in his own unusual way. But everyone else there has to make that decision. So, alright, enough of that, my friends. Let's just go here. A couple of commentaries came out today. It's from Bob Livingston's Alerts. This is entitled Korean War Part 2, What is Probably Going to Happen, by Brandon Smith. He does a lot of good work too, so you should check it out. Very liberty-minded folk, man. Though a lot of people in my line of work, economic and geopolitical analysts, tend to be accused of doom-mongering. I have to say personally, I am not a big believer in doom, at least not in the way that the accusation insinuates. I don't believe in apocalypse, Armageddon, or the end of the world, nor do I even believe, according to the evidence, that a global nuclear conflict is upon us. In fact, it annoys me that so many people seem desperate to imagine those conclusions whenever a crisis event takes shape. I think the concept of apocalypse is rather lazy, unless we are talking about a fantastical movie scenario like a meteor the size of Kentucky or Michelle Obama's Adam's apple hurling across the earth towards the earth. I'm sorry, that was a good one. Human civilization is more likely to change in the face of the crisis rather than to end completely. Why do I believe in a massive sea change in societies and political dynamics? I believe in the fall of nations and empires. I believe in this because I've seen it perpetually through history. Seen it progressing through history. What I can see constant evidence of this is that many of these sea changes are engineered by establishment, elitists, in government and finance. What I see is evidence of organized psychopathy and an agenda for total centralization of power. When I stumble upon the potential for economic disaster or war, I will ask myself, what is it narrative being sold to the public? What is truth? What truth is it distracting from us, and who really benefits from the calamity? Saying all wars are bankers' wars is not an unfair generalization. It is a safe bet. First, let's clear up some misconceptions about public attitude towards the North Korean situation. According to polls, I'll remind readers my ample distrust of polls. A majority of Americans don't actually support U.S. troop deployment to North Korea, but only condition that North Korea attacks first. I want you to remember that exception. North Korea must attack first. It will be important for later in this analysis. Despite a wide assumption that the mainstream media is beating the war drums on this issue, I find this most cases the opposite. The mainstream media has instead been going out of its way to downplay any chance that current inflamed rhetoric on both sides of the Pacific is anything other than a bluster, but that will end in a whimper rather than bomb blast. This is the one reason I think war is imminent. The media is notorious as a contrarian indicator. Whatever they predict is usually the opposite of what comes true. Just look at Brexit and the election of Donald Trump for starters. Another generalization that is a sure bet that the mainstream media usually lies, or even the very least, they are mostly wrong. That said, if we are to believe the latest polls, unfortunately, one thing is clear: the American people on both sides of the political spectrum are becoming more galvanized around supporting the potential conflict with North Korea. For the establishment, war is a winning sell, at least for now. Of course, I am aware that we had heard all this before. Back in 2013, tensions were relatively high with North Korea, just like they are today. North Korea threatened a preemptive nuclear strike on the U.S. back then too, and in the end, it was all hot air. However, besides the wider public support than ever before in terms of troop deployment to North Korea, something else is very different from 2013. Primarily, China's stance on the issue of regime change. In the past, China has been consistent in supporting UN sanctions against North Korea's nuclear program while remaining immovable on war and regime change in the region. In 2013, it was clear that China was hostile to the notion of a U.S. invasion. In 2017, though, something has changed. China's deep ties to the global banking establishment. Like I said, China's deep ties to the global banking establishment. Their open statements on their affection for the IMF and the recent induction as a flagship nation for the IMF special drawing rights system can make it clear that they are working for the globalist agenda, not against it. That this is not necessarily a new thing behind the curtain. China has done the bidding of globalist institutions for decades. Today, though, the relationship is displayed for more publicity. In 2015, it was China, not just the U.S., that sounded the alarm over North Korea's nuclear program, indicating that Pyongyang might have technology well beyond American estimates. It was the warning that triggered the slow buildup to today's fear over a fully capable intercontinental ballistic missile package in the hands of North Korea. It seems obvious to me that China plays the role of North Korea's friend as long as it serves the interests of the globalist agenda. Then China turns on North Korea when the narrative calls for a shift in the script. It is China that opens and closes the door to war with North Korea, a China that is very cooperative with the IMF and pushed towards total globalization. In 2013, China presented a narrative of stalwart opposition to U.S. invasion. In 2017, China has left the door wide open. Both alternative mainstream media outlets latched onto recent statements made by Beijing claiming that China will not allow regime change in North Korea. What many of them forgot to mention or buried in their own articles, though, was that this was not China's entire statement. China also asserted that they would remain neutral if North Korea attacked first. I cannot find any previous instance in the past when China has made such a statement that amounts to a note of permission. Both the American public and the Chinese government have given support for regime change in North Korea, given the stipulation that there is an attack on the U.S. or U.S. interests and allies. So I ask you, what is most likely to happen here? Much of the world, and mostly important, the U.S. is on the verge of a new phase of severe economic decline, according to all fundamental data. The U.S. is set to enter yet another debate on the debt ceiling, with many on the conservative side demand that Trump and Republicans not roll over this time. And as I discussed in my article, geopolitical tensions are designed to distract the public from economic decline. And North Korean conflict stands as the best possible distraction. Okay, just think about that, folks. Let that sink in. Okay, just to let you know. How does the establishment rationalize a contested debt ceiling increased while also diverting blame away from themselves on the continued decline in the U.S. and global fiscal data? War, not necessarily a world war, as so many are quick to imagine, but a regional war, a quagmire war that will put the final nail in the U.S. debt coffin and act as a perfect scapegoat for the inevitable implosion of the current stock market bubble. International banks have much to gain and little to lose in a war scenario with North Korea. I predict that there will be an attack blamed on North Korea. Either North Korea will be potted into a violent reaction, or a false flag attack will be engineered and tied to Pyongyang. Pyongyang. Okay, whatever. I just smack me later, folks. Remember, for the first time ever, China has essentially backed off its opposition to the invasion of North Korea, as long as North Korea attacks preemptively. Why? Why didn't they make this exception back in 2013? Because now the international banks want to distract, and China is giving them opening they require. Will this war culminate in global nuclear conflagration? No. The establishment has spent decades and untold trillions building its biometric control grids, staging the new global monetary framework under the SDR system. They are not going to vaporize all of this in an instant through a nuclear exchange. What will they do, though, is launch regional wars and also economic wars. Those people expecting an apocalypse are going to find something different, but in my opinion, much worse. A steady but slower decline in economic ruin and global centralization. New World Order 101. Eventually, China and the U.S. will enter hostilities, but these hostilities will lean more towards the financial than the kinetic. The establishment cabal works in stages, not in absolute events. Another Korean War would be a disaster for America, just not in the way many people think. Will there be a nuclear event? Yes. If war takes place in North Korea, then it's likely they will use a nuclear device somewhere in retaliation. We may even see a nuclear event as a false flag catalyst for starting the war in the first place. This will not be a global threat, but a mushroom cloud over any American city or outpost enough to scare the hell out of most of the people is all what will be needed. So this mean doom for the American people? It depends on how we react. We will continue to hold the banking establishment responsible for all of their sabotage previous to a high-profile war in the Pacific. That's a question mark. Will we get caught up in the tides of war fever? When we will question the source of future attacks on the U.S. Or will we immediately point fingers at whoever the media or government tells us is the enemy? Our response is the greatest determining factor in whether or not the American idea of liberty stands or falls. This time, I don't see bluster, but a fog common in the moments preceding conflict. This time, I believe we are indeed facing war, but war is always means to an end. War is an establishment tool for social engineering on a massive scale. Or a synopsis on by Mr. Smith. I am not too crazy about going to war with North Korea. A lot of stuff is happening, and don't be surprised. They're going to be talking about this, but they'll focus on the war and maybe in Charlottesville once again. That's how they do it, my friend. Or it's like CNN. Trump this, Trump that, Trump hating fetish. I don't care if you like the man or not. All it is, distracting on what's yet to come. And of course, got to realize all the propaganda North Korea uses to put us in that fear factor. They really recanted on thing with Guam. No one wants to go to war. No one. And right now, go to North Korea, they got nothing to lose. So I recommend President Trump stand down. I believe this is essential. Stand down, Mr. President Trump. Stand down. Don't let this happen, because they will crucify you if it goes horrific. And I will hit this next one. And this is from Lou Rockwell. And really, good synopsis here. It says here, Saturday in Charlottesville by Paul Gottfried. And this is from originally nothing really, so I'm going to read this. As it says, looked at the French nationalist website Boulevard Voltaire this morning. I noticed a repetition of the conventional American media account of what occurred in Charlottesville on Saturday. News commentary explained that a white racist had run down and killed with a vehicle a 32-year-old anti-racist demonstrator, Heather Hare, while injuring other anti-racists who are protesting at the Unite the Right rally in downtown Charlottesville. The supposed occasion of the demonstration, the removal of a 26-foot statue of Robert Lee, did not seem to interest French commentators, although presumably if French anti-fascists were calling for dismantling statues of Charles de Gaulle or Joan of Arc all over France, the writer might have reacted differently. As the American observer of these events, who makes no bones about this utter revulsion for contemporary American liberal and conservative commentaries, which I find mostly indistinguishable. I think there's more to the story of what went on in Charlottesville Saturday than our authorized political sides want us to believe. First of all, I find no heroes emerging from these events. Police show no ability to, perhaps no willingness to keep the both two sides separated. And when they met, it was inevitable that these armed partisans who hate each other's guts would clash. Although dismantling of Lee's statue in May, Judge placed a 6-month stay on this outrage, may have been only the pretext for obnoxious youth to raise holy hell. The removal of Confederate statues and the remaining of parks and streets commemorating Confederate commanders is sheer lunacy. It should be opposed by all possible legal means. The NAACP, and leftist cranks like Max Boot, who push this agenda, are the American equivalent of the Taliban. Are we supposed to do the PC cringe when the usual pests demand that we remove the names of Jefferson, Madison, and Washington from every city in this country because our country's founders owned slaves? As for the bloody clash in Charlottesville, it is impossible for me to read the account provided by neocon President John Porterhurst in the New York Post this morning without losing my breakfast. The villain for Porterhurst, as it's always in these days when he's not attacking critics of the liquid party, it's Donald Trump who refused to denounce Nazis and white supremacists unqualifiedly and by name. It seems that Trump had the shamelessness to suggest that there were two sides involved in the clash in Charlottesville. Trump has since unloaded all his fire on Pod's target. Anti-fascist and BML protesters, according to Porterhurst's doctored narrative, were merely responding to hate. And the president whom Porterhurst wouldn't back against Hillary and whom he continues to denounce refused to name the evil in our midst, thereby showing the behavior of a man whose moral sense is stunted. On Saturday evening, Fox News offered an interview with Julie Banderas of the Weekly Standard senior editor, who scolded Trump for not treating the alt-right in the same denunciatory manner as ISIS. Both, according to Ms. Torrance, were equally dangerous terrorist organizations. Needless to say, I've never heard our authorized conservative opposition vent the same ferocious denunciations that they're showing on the anti-fascist vandals or on the Bernie Sanders supporters who try to kill a crew of Republican congressmen. While practicing for a baseball game in Arlington, Virginia, nor did the authorized leftist media agonize in the same way about the left extremists as Fox News commentators did when they began screeching on Saturday night about right-wing dangers that are comparable to ISIS. The left acted according to the script when their commentators tried to blame the attempted annihilation of Republican congressmen on a right-wing extremist president. But our bogus right couldn't leave their pandering to the left with calls for special vigilance against a pervasive right-wing danger. On Fox's Judge Jeanine segment, we had the pleasure of listening to various Republican congressmen from Virginia define their conservatism as some kind of diversitarian globalist fantasy. One Latino Republican congressman described the U.S. as the world's greatest multicultural success. All the Republican interviewees gave the impression that Charlottesville had been sleeping near College Town like a throwback to Monty Woolley's Halls of Ivy before it was invaded by neo-Nazis. These saccharine comments revealed little about the reality of life in an area controlled by the PC left and led by a bona fide leftist radical from New York City, Mayor Mike Steiner. I've come to doubt that group organized by Richard Spencer et al. Was more responsible for violence than the anti-fascist side. From the film I've just seen, it seems conclusive that leftist thugs were at least as ready to rumble as there were not white nationalists and neo-Nazis. Whether or not the left initiated the fisticuffs, and there's high probability that it did, those who led it were far from naive humanitarians who were shocked by white racists. Moreover, both sides, including the white nationalists, integrated to the demonstrations basically decent people who were simply reacting against something they found intolerable, such as a PC police, state, or neo-Nazi symbols. Such people were used by others on both sides who were looking for trouble, and the police did little to prevent it. Finally, I would observe as a representative of the independent right that Richard Spencer and his friends did us a horrible disservice by contributing to the confrontation that took place on Saturday. Much of what Richard and other members of the alt-right say about the growing indistinguishability of authorized right and authorized left is entirely on the mark. But the way to combat this deplorable situation is not to team up with Nazis, encourage demonstrators to come to arm the Charlottesville to protest the leftist Taliban. One has created a counter media to what our shared enemies have done and be willing to accept decent people, wherever their race, to combat left-wing totalitarianism and fake conservatives enablers. The war for civilization is almost entirely between groups of whites, in fact mostly white Christians. The white left has drawn in other groups, mostly as auxiliary forces. The same battle will be going on as it has been much of Europe if we're only dealing with white opponents. None of the multiculturalists I have known has been black, and calling whites multicultural fanatics race traitors is a gross oversimplification because the object of leftist hate goes well beyond their own racial group. It now includes all normal people who have not been reconstructed by the managerial therapeutic state or fighting the scourge of political correctness. At the very least, Richard and his comrades have diverted us from this fight and compounded this injury by playing a role in the violence that should not have occurred. I can't help asking this rhetorical question, at least parenthetically at the end. According to white nationalist protocol, I'm supposed to ally with white cultural leftists against the very black African Cardinal Robert Serra, who spoke yesterday in Brittany. The good Cardinal affirms his reverence for the Bedouin martyrs who fought for their king and church against the evil French Revolution. Needless to say, the ideology of Christian Serra decry was far less radically leftist than our fake conservatives proclaim as their global democratic agenda. The struggle to restore a decent society that we're in cannot and should not be reduced to racial differences. And you know what, Mr. Garfield, you're absolutely correct. This is why I've been saying this for a long time. There are too many infiltrators in this instrument, plus PSYOP. We can go on. Divide and conquer is their plan. And you folks on Facebook, you better look at the bigger picture instead of focusing on face value. That's what those bastards want you to do. Look at these gullible, pathetic fools. Doesn't matter what side of the paradigm or pendulum you're at. They love division. They thrive on it. Guys like Morris Dees, Abraham Foxman, and even NAACP, they're climaxing on it. They love it. It makes them money. It gives them publicity. I remember the Southern Poverty Law Center said Ron Paul was a potential terrorist. Look it up. You folks going to use their sources? Like that unmarriable parasite that he is? Yeah, he is a piece of work. A tyrannical fool. Less patriotic than Benedict Arnold. That's what I say about Morris Dees. And you can tell him I said so. I don't care less. He's just a prime example. And Abraham Foxman and all of the quacks, quack groups, charlatans, subversified entities. Clean that out of your system, folks. You get eaten gray real quick if you manifest on it. Like I said before, I defy all forms of tyranny, and I have no shame of saying it. And like I said, the cities, their contributions to this blood guilt, yeah, I can say that too. They're just another example, my friends. And you just need to start thinking for yourselves, be strategic, and you know what? Do yourselves a favor. It looks like out there, a lot of you may not be never read Sun Tzu, the Art of War. Go get the book. Go to the library. Hit the bookstore. Read it. Then you can understand where I'm coming from. Remember, they want us battling in the streets so they could lock us down like piss ants. Martial law want to be implemented. A lot of stuff on that as well. Look it up. I'm not making anything, not talking smack by any means. All right? Okay, my friends. That is all. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us on your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or want to send me something that's interesting or may want to check out, whatever you do, please address your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com, FutureNet.club, or Patreon.com patreon.com/LokiLuck3, which is 3 eyes. If you want to donate money, that would be fantastic. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com or LokiLuck03@protonmail.com if you like your info encrypted. Well, before I go, I'm going to play you a song from a good man, Chris Gio, which he's on Truth Frequency Radio. Haven't heard him as much recently, but every time I do, very interesting, never boring. So check it out. What's going on here, my friends? We got to keep the movement going. So there's going to be bumps in the road, distractions, distortions, and all that. But you got to keep on, you got to stay focused. Everything's done by steps. Those cockroaches in the New World Order did the same thing through stealth. Now we got technology, we could advance it. So folks, make it happen. We all have obligations. If you sit there and complain and don't take any action, then shut up. All right, my friends. Once again, thank you for your time. Let's always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. May your guardian spirits be with you.
We have been deceived. We have lived in a society of fear. And now that we awaken, we realize we have been afraid of the wrong thing. Therefore, we stand with a new Declaration of Independence against a government more dangerous to our liberty than the enemy it claims to protect us from.
This is all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. In this time of tribulation, do you stay asleep or do you take the red pill and journey to the deep darkness of the truth to the 33rd degree? You see exactly why they want to murder you and me. I can hear them right behind me, I can feel them coming near. I can hear them all around me, I can see the plot so clear. I can sense the revelation, I can tell the end is here. It's time to gather up the mass, can I get a volunteer? No fear, we proclaim, fuck their wicked end game. Take a big step back and you'll never be the same. Once you open up your mind, you can't be entertained. Unglued from the tube, truth running through your veins. Unchained from the matrix, we'll defeat the evil powers. Realize what happened when they blasted down those towers. Understand the reason the water tastes sour. Will you take the red pill or live life as a coward? Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement to awake us from this dream. Expose the new world order and its fascist regime. Demonic calculations of the ruler supreme. Every day a different song, the exact same theme. The scheme has you paying for your own enslavement. Illegal income tax, but you're blind and you pay it. Millions tell the truth, you come out to say it. No rules to the game, it's so sad that you play it. Now obey and bow down like a dog to his master. But the Patriot Act won't save you from disaster. State-sponsored terror gets you chipped much faster. But the very ideas attacked with ridicule and laughter. And then you wake up with your brain disease because you let them stick mercury in vaccines. They stick you with the needle every time you cough or sneeze. And every half a mile the same papers, please.
The government's now putting a national ID card together and they want checkpoints.
We will be carrying our papers, and they have recommended there be checkpoints throughout the country.
Isn't that what Nazi Germany did that everybody in America was against? Papers, please. I see you, papers.
Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement. Cause it's all about the movement. You know it's all about the movement. I said it's all about the movement. Now it's all about the movement.
In 1776, our forefathers fought against the same tyranny we face today. A central banking system thriving off the suffering of the people. No taxation without representation. forefathers stood up and fought for what they believe in. But today we're too busy watching American Idol on our iPods to realize our republic has been hijacked by the same group of thugs. Well, I'm here to say we're not going to take it anymore. We will defend the Constitution.